أعوذ بالله السميع العليم من الشيطان اللعين الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. ولا حول ولا قوة إلا بالله العلي العظيم. اللهم صل على محمد سيد المرسلين وخاتم النبيين وحجة رب العالمين المنتجب في الميثاق المصطفى في الضلال المطهر من كل آفة البرية من كل عيب المؤمل للنجاة المرتجى للشفاعة المفوض إليه دين الله. اللهم كل وليك الحجة ابن الحسن صلواتك عليه وعلى آبائه في هذه الساعة وفي كل ساعة وليا وحافظا وقائدا وناصرا ودليلا وعينا حتى تسكنه أرضك طوعا وتمتعه فيها طويلا يا رب الحسين بحق الحسين اشف صدر الحسين بظهور الحجة. قال الله العظيم في محكم كتابه الكريم: بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم: ومن أظلم ممن منع مساجد الله أن يذكر فيها اسمه وسعى في خرابها أولئك ما كان لهم أن يدخلوها إلا خائفين لهم في الدنيا خزي ولهم في الآخرة عذاب عظيم. آمنا بالله. صدق الله العلي العظيم. We are commemorating the 100th year of the destruction of Baqee al-Gharqad, one of the most important burial sites in Islam, a cemetery that is located in Medina al-Munawwara. Baqee al-Gharqad was destroyed, demolished throughout history 2 times. Prior to this very event that we are commemorating this year, Al Saud destroyed the House of Saud, destroyed Baqee al-Gharqad after they attacked Karbala al-Muqaddasa at that time. And that is 100 years before the destruction that occurred in 1344 after Hijrah, 1924. That is the calendar that we go by. So 1344, 100 years before that, 1244, they attacked Karbala al-Muqaddasa. They killed 5,000 of the Shia, House of Saud, they were known back then. The father of Abdul Aziz, with the backing up of the British government and the Wahhabis, they attacked Karbala. They looted the shrine of Imam al-Hussein. They destroyed the shrine of Imam al-Hussein alayhi afdalus salatu wassalam. 5,000 of the Shia were massacred, and then after that they made their way to Najaf al-Ashraf. By the time they reached Najaf al-Ashraf, the news reached the Shia in Najaf, and the people of Najaf al-Ashraf, they assembled an army and they were victorious. House of Saud's army came back to that time Medina. They went first to Mecca and they destroyed the cemetery in Mecca al-Mukarramah, the burial site in which we have many of the Muslims, prominent figures of Islam buried in Mecca al-Mukarramah. One of them being Abu Talib, the father of Amir al-Mu'mineen, and the other is al-Mu'mineen Khadija bint Khuwaylid, that's in Mecca al-Mukarramah. They destroyed that, and then they made their way to Medina al-Munawwara and they destroyed it. This was the first time. After this, the Ottoman Empire, they were successful to get into those areas. One of them was, of course, Mecca and Medina. So Mecca and Medina, they first what they did was they rebuilt Jannatul Baqee al-Gharqad. Baqee al-Gharqad was rebuilt, and years passed. And even if you go today to Medina, there are many monuments. One of them, the old train station of the time of the Ottomans, still standing in Medina al-Munawwara. In Medina al-Munawwara, you see some buildings from the Ottoman Empire, from the Uthmani era. So they rebuilt all of Medina al-Munawwara's places that the Wahhabis, Muhammad ibn Abdul Wahhab, had ordered for them to be destroyed. And we come to that, why they ordered such a thing. They rebuilt Jannatul Baqee'. 22 domes were built in Jannatul Baqee', Baqee' al-Gharqad, this cemetery that it's 180,000 square meters. 180,000 square meters. 22 domes. Years passed to 1344. So if you look at the Islamic calendar now, we are in 1444. 8th of Shawwal, again, the House of Saud, after they regained power, they destroyed Baqee' al-Gharqad. 22 domes were destroyed. And if you look at it, what you see today is what happened at that time. That one of the British historians said, I went into Mecca and I saw what they did to the cemetery in Mecca, and then I went to Medina al-Munawwara and I saw that they had leveled it to the ground. Not just that they destroyed the 22 domes and the shrines, they also looted. They took whatever was in those shrines. Whatever was in those shrines, they had destroyed them. And if you search on Google Baqee' al-Gharqad, the old Baqee' al-Gharqad, you see domes, huge domes, 22 of them around. Those were the ones that were built by the Ottoman Empire. And you know, in every shrine, there are many of very expensive gold, silver, and of course books. They looted all of that. All were gone. And of course some newspapers at the time, they spread the news of what's happening. They were very close to go into the shrine of the Prophet of Islam to also destroy the shrine of the Prophet, but the Muslim Ummah, they came out saying that this cannot happen. You can't destroy the shrine of the Prophet. Inshallah, if you go this year or the year after, you go to the Umrah or Hajj, you see the tomb of the Prophet, the design of that tomb, and even the shrine, that is from the Ottoman era. The Ottoman era. The Wahhabis, or the House of Saud, they don't want to build any of this. The Ottomans, they built it, they designed it, they built it, and they left it like that. And the House of Saudi didn't even try to destroy this, but of course the Muslim Empire, the Muslim Ummah, they came out and they said this cannot happen. If you do that, that's going to be a big problem. Of course, Jannat al-Baqee' was already destroyed. By the time the news spread out throughout the Muslim Ummah, it was too late. But they were preparing themselves to go into the shrine of the Prophet, but that didn't occur, alhamdulillah. Now if you look at Jannatul Baqee' itself, now 100 years have passed since the destruction of Jannatul Baqee'. 100 years. 1344, now we are in 1444, 8th of Shawwal, this is when they destroyed this cemetery. How important is Jannatul Baqee'? How many of the figures, important figures, are buried in Jannatul Baqee'? I give you some of the names before I go to, of course, the 4 of the Imams. If you look at any other places, any other cities, you don't see that we have 4 of the Imams buried in there, and of course Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam also. In Medina al-Munawwara you have the Prophet and 4 of the Imams And of course you have other figures that I will name them now. So Jannat al-Baqee, how important it is. 4 of the Imams, just put them on the side for a second. Let's talk about the companions. You have a large number of companions buried in Jannat al-Baqee. One of them, the first one that was buried in Jannat al-Baqee is Uthman ibn Mad'un. And Imam Amir al-Mu'mineen also had a son by the name of Uthman. They said to the Imam, you have a son by the name of Uthman, how could this be? They thought that the Imam Amir al-Mu'mineen, Ali ibn Abi Talib, he named his son Uthman after the 3rd Caliph, Uthman. He said, no, I didn't name him Uthman after the 3rd Khalifa. I named him Uthman after Uthman ibn Mad'un. And Uthman ibn Mad'un was a very respected companion. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam himself buried him in Jannat al-Baqee. Rasulullah prayed on him, and even Ahlul Bayt alayhim afdalus salati wassalam, they also respected this companion, Uthman ibn Mad'un. Also you find others, you find As'ad ibn Zurara, Abbas ibn Abdul Muttalib. Abbas ibn Abdul Muttalib is the uncle of the Prophet. He is the great grandfather of the Abbasid dynasty. If you look out throughout the history of Islam, in the time let's start from the deceased, the death of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam onward. So from the time of the first Khalifa, Abu Bakr, and then Umar, and then Uthman, and then Amir al-Mu'mineen Ali ibn Talib, and then you find Imam al-Hasan for 6-7 months, he was the Khalifa. Who came after Imam al-Hasan? Who took the Khilafah? Muawiyah. And then after him, Yazid. So the Umayyad dynasty that took over. So let's talk about 3 Khulafa, and then the Umayyad dynasty, and then the Abbasid dynasty. The Umayyad dynasty was close to 100 years. Even with all of the crimes they committed, they did not destroy a graveside, a cemetery like Baqee al-Gharqad. That wasn't what they had on their agenda. Of course they killed many people, massacred many people, but to destroy a cemetery, no, that wasn't on the card. So even the 3 Khulafa, no. Umayyad dynasty, close to 100 years, no. And then comes the Abbasids. Abbasids, they ruled the Islamic Ummah, the Islamic Empire. The Abbasids, they ruled it up to close to 900 years. And even them, no. The Abbasid actually, Abbasis, Bani Abbas, they constructed Jannat al-Baqee because their grandfather is buried there. Even the shrine of the Prophet, they designed and they built the shrine of the Prophet. For them to destroy such a place, no. That crime wasn't committed even by the Abbasids. But you find House of Saud, why would you come and destroy such a place? So you see, with Abbas ibn Abdul Muttalib, there are many other figures. Ummahat al-Mu'mineen, when they come and they accuse the Shia of talking about Ummahat al-Mu'mineen, and of course they just mean one of the Ummahat, one of the mothers, and they're always talking about that one. You say, look, you yourself, you destroyed the grave side of 3 of the Ummahat al-Mu'mineen. Maria al-Qibtiyya, she's buried in Jannat al-Baqee. Salama, she's buried in Jannat al-Baqee. And Habiba, she's buried in Jannat al-Baqee. And of course the companions, they always accuse the Muslims, the Shia Muslims, that you insult the companions of Islam. Yet you destroyed the graveside of the companions of the Islam. Is that a bigger crime, a bigger insult than we talk about such figures and we say they did such and such and such and such? And we do la'an. La'an is what? La'an is that we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to take away from them His mercy. That's what la'an is. La'an is that you ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to take away His mercy from these figures, from these people. So you find that the companions of the Prophet buried in Jannat al-Baqee. Ummahat al-Mu'mineen, the wives of the Prophet, buried in Jannat al-Baqee. His daughters, Rasulullah's daughters, the adopted daughters, because we as Shia believe that Rasulullah had only one daughter, birth daughter, that is Fatima al-Zahra salamullahi alayha. And his lineage comes from Fatima al-Zahra. His daughters, the adopted daughters, they are buried in Jannatul Baqee'. Zainab, Kulthum, they're buried in Jannatul Baqee'. And the list goes on and on. You find other figures buried in Jannatul Baqee', like Ibrahim ibn Rasulullah. Ibrahim, the son of Rasulullah. Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam buried him, and he made his grave up to 4 fingers up. So if you know, in construction, that was the level that he brought it up to, 4 figures. 4, that was the height of his grave. And then you find Shuhada al-Harra, Shuhada fi Ahdi Yazid. Of course, when they attacked Muslim ibn one of the time in the time of Yazid ibn Muawiyah, Musrif ibn Aqaba, that he attacked, we call him Musrif, not Muslim. Musrif ibn Aqaba, of the amount of bloodshed that he brought down people in Medina al-Munawwara, were also buried in Jannatul Baqee'. Even today, if you go to Baqee' al-Gharqad, I was there last year, I saw until today, many of the people that they die in Medina al-Munawwara, they are buried in Jannatul Baqee'. You can also get them to be buried. But if someone comes from overseas, like we have in Wadi Salam, that doesn't occur in Jannatul Baqee'. It's very hard. But the residents of Medina al-Munawwara, they're buried in Jannatul Baqee'. Fatima bint Asad, the mother of Amir al-Mu'mineen alayhi afdalus salatu was salam, buried in Jannatul Baqee'. If you look at the picture of Jannatul Baqee', you see Abbas ibn Abdul Muttalib, and then you see all of 4 imams right next to each other, and to their left is Fatima bint Asad. That very place was the house of Aqil. House of Aqil was there. So the Hashemites were buried there. That was right in the middle of Jannatul Baqee'. And later on that became all Jannatul Baqee'. But that itself, that place that we have 4 of the Imams, you have the uncle of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, you have Fatima bint Asad, that is the house of Aqil. Now, that is just a very, very brief description of what Jannatul Baqee' is and who is buried there. Now, let's go into some controversial things. Why would you destroy Jannatul Baqee'? Why is it a bid'ah? Bid'ah is what? Heresy for someone to pray in such shrines. Look, you have to come and you have to draw a line, and you have to look into the reasons from their side. From their side, as I mentioned, this crime wasn't a crime that others committed. It was only committed by House of Saud, that they still rule Saudi Arabia. And Saudi Arabia is named after them. House of Saud, Saudi Arabia. Abdul Aziz and his father before him. And of course it was by the Wahhabis. The British, when they came into those areas, and we always have to give credit to the British, even here, United Kingdom, you give them credit, that they came into those areas, the Arabian Peninsula, and they divided. They said, look, House of Saud, you take the political side of it, you rule the Muslim Ummah the way you want to rule it. Wahhabis, and that is Muhammad ibn Abdul Wahhab, he takes over the religious side of it. Muhammad ibn Abdul Wahhab, very harsh person, very aggressive. Muhammad ibn Abdul Wahhab, he was a person that he said all of the Muslims are polytheists. Even his own brother was against him. That one day his brother said to him, this was said by his brother, he said to him, we believe that God Almighty every night in Shahr Ramadan al-Mubarak, He sets free thousands of the Muslims from hellfire. Yes? He said yes. Do you believe in this hadith from the Prophet? Yes. He's asking his brother, Muhammad ibn Abdul Wahhab, his brother is asking this from Muhammad ibn Abdul Wahhab, the founder of Wahhabism, Muhammad ibn Abdul Wahhab. He said, and then in the end of the month of Ramadan, on the day of Eid al-Fitr, Allah, in total, this number, the whole number, the total number of that, he adds them up all together and he sets free Muslims from hellfire. All of them are set free from hellfire. He said, yes. He said, then I ask you, where does the number come from? Because you said all the Muslims are polytheists, they're all in hellfire. And polytheism, yes, is not a sin that Allah forgives. If you talk about that, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala only forgives your people, the people that you give them approval. And there are very few numbers. Where does this number come from? Thousands of Muslims, in hundreds of thousands. That it's only your people, the people that you follow. He was completely silent. He couldn't answer, just simple math. And then he even said that to him, to the point that he said, even my teachers are all in hellfire. None of them knows that and understand what shirk is. One type of shirk is this ibadah. Ibadah for the qubur. How does ibadah for qubur occur? We go back to some of the hadith. We have a person in Islam by name of Marwan ibn al-Hakam. Have you heard of this name? Marwan ibn al-Hakam. He's a very fascinating figure. Marwan ibn al-Hakam wanted to become a Khalifa for a very long time. After the death of Yazid the first, actually Yazid the second, not the first. The second was the one who killed Imam al-Hussein. After the death of Yazid the second, Marwan ibn al-Hakam was waiting. Who took over after Yazid the second? Muawiyah the second. Muawiyah the second, 6-7 months, and he said, no, this is not for me. My father and my grandfather are all wrong. They're all in hellfire. And all, that was said by Muawiyah the second in the mosque, packed mosque in Damascus, that his mother said to him, I wish I miscarried you. I didn't have a son like you. And he said, yes, I wish that happened, that I don't belong to this family, a family like Umayyad, the Umayyad's family. That was said by Muawiyah the second. So later on he was poisoned. Muawiyah the second, he was killed. Who came into the power? The Umayyad dynasty is still in power, but Bani Marwan came into power. Bani Marwan. He was taken off from Abu Sufyan's sons. Muawiyah was done. Yazid was done. Muawiyah the second was done. Marwan came into power. Couple of months. Amir al-Mu'mineen mentions Marwan ibn al-Hakam. He says his kingdom is so short, is like the dog, how it licks its mouth and it licks its nose. Have you seen the dog doing that? It's very short. Imam Ali gives this description. He says it's very short, that if you see the dog licking its nose and the saliva coming down, that's how short it is. Marwan ibn al-Hakam, one day he saw a person. I'll tell you how he died. Marwan ibn al-Hakam, he saw a person, he had his head on the tomb of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa alihi wasallam, the graveside of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa alihi wasallam. He had his head down. He came to him and he said to him, this is shirk. Who says that today? Who says that today? The Wahhabis. This is shirk. How dare you do such a thing? He looked up, it was Abu Ayyub al-Ansari. Abu Ayyub al-Ansari is a very respected companion of Rasulullah. Abu Ayyub al-Ansari is the companion of Rasulullah, that Rasulullah, when he entered Medina al-Munawwara and everyone invited the Prophet to their houses, Rasulullah said, I see where the camel goes. And the camel went from one alley to the next to Abu Ayyub's house and stopped there. And Rasulullah came down and he was a guest in Abu Ayyub Ansari's house. And he said to him, Abu Ayyub said to Marwan ibn al-Hakam, he said, I kiss the grave not for the grave, but for who is buried in the grave. And that's same for us. When you go for the ziyarah of Imam al-Hussein, whether you go to ziyarah Imam al-Rada, when you go to the ziyarah of Imam Ali, are you kissing that gold and silver and that marble because of its marbleness or its gold or because it's silver? No, it's because who is buried there. And that is Imam al-Hussein, that is Imam Ali, that's Imam Ali ibn Musa al-Rada, Imam al-Jawad, and such and such. And then Abu Ayyub al-Ansari said to Marwan, He said, "O Marwan, Rasulullah said to me one day, a day comes that all Muslims have to weep because a person will come and that is you, that he doesn't have any knowledge of Islam and he rules the Muslim Ummah with no knowledge. An illiterate imbecile, has nothing on his mind." Abu Ayyub al-Ansari said that to Marwan ibn al-Hakam. Of course, there is another one. This is narrated in their books. There is another story of the same person, Marwan ibn al-Hakam, with Osama bin Zayd. He said the same thing to Osama bin Zayd, and Osama was praying next to the tomb of Rasulullah. He said the same thing, and he insulted Osama. To which Osama bin Zayd said to him, "How dare you insult me?" And he answered. He replied to him the same reply of Abu Ayyub al-Ansari. Abu Ayyub al-Ansari, if you go to Turkey today, he's buried in Turkey. Abu Ayyub al-Ansari answered him, Osama bin Zayd answered him. Marwan ibn al-Hakam, few months, and his own wife killed him. How did she kill him? His own wife, his wife, was a widow of Yazid ibn Muawiyah. She was the widow of Yazid. She was the wife of Yazid ibn Muawiyah. And he was insulting her every day because of her weight. She was overweight, way overweight. To the historians, they mentioned this. How did she kill him? Because of his insult. Every day he was insulting her. One night she saw that he's sleeping. She brought down a pillow and she sat on him and she killed him in his sleep. Few months, subhanAllah, you see his own wife took care of him. Every day he insults her. How does she get rid of him? There was no divorces at that time or courts that you give me half or I take half. No, finish him off. And after that his sons came into power, the Marwanis, they came into power to the end. Now this was mentioned in their books and they have this against us, as against the Shia. Even now they say that you are Abadul Qubur, you worship the Qubur. No. You don't worship the qubur. We go to the qabr of Ahlul Bayt alayhim salatu wassalam to get closer to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, to get the intercession. Four of the Imams that are buried in Jannatul Baqee: Imam al-Hasan al-Mujtaba Kareem Ahlul Bayt, Imam Zain al-Abidin Ali ibn al-Husayn, Imam al-Baqir alayhi salatu wassalam, and Imam al-Sadiq. When you go to visit such places, such shrines or tombs, are you going there because of where they are buried or for the person who's buried there? Millions of people, they go for Imam al-Hussein, not for the shrine itself, not also of the marbles and because of the silver and the gold and such. That's why we also have a whole guideline. We have a guideline when it comes to the ziyarah. And if you go to the ziyarah, sometimes you see some things happening by some of Shia. It's not right. They have to change that. One of the things they do, for example, Bain al-Haramain, he throws himself to the ground and he wants to crawl to the shrine of Imam al-Hussein or to the shrine of Abu Fadl Abbas. No, this is something that you shouldn't be doing. Or when they go there, they do a sajda and they kiss the marble of the footsteps of the people, or they do other things that it's not in our religion. Of course we go to the ziyarah, but there are guidelines. You do ziyarah with these guidelines, that you don't go beyond them. That's what we do. You go through the ziyarah like that. And we of course believe of the shafa'ah of Ahlul Bayt alayhim salatu wassalam. Shafa'ah is the intercession. That itself is a whole topic. But when it comes to the shafa'ah, intercession, if you look in Medina al-Munawwara, in the Rawdah of Nabawi, to the shrine of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, you still see that it's written down on the walls, this hadith from the Prophet: Shafa'ati li ahli al-kaba'iri min ummati. My shafa'ah my intercession is for the sinners of my ummah. So you believe in the shafa'ah. And of course when the Wahhabis, they come into this discussion, they say this, of course, is not something they go after. Shafa'ah is what? Intercession. Now we go back always to the Quran. Two things. One, and I conclude. One is Ashab al-Kahf. Have you heard of the story of Ashab al-Kahf? The people of the cave. When the people of cave, they came out after 300 odd years after sleep, and the people saw them, the village, the town, the city at that time, they saw them and they saw the miracle of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. They went back to their cave. And the hadith says that they died and they come back with Imam al-Hujjah alayhi afdalu salati wassalam. These companions of Imam al-Hujjah, if you look at the elite number of them, Isa ibn Maryam is one of them, Khidr is the other one, Musa ibn Imran, and you have Ashab al-Kahf. If you look in the ayat, in the surah, you find that they said, what should we do with them? Just let them be, we close off the cave and we let them be? No. This is in Surah Al-Kahf, verse 21. It says that we will surely take for ourselves over them a masjid, a mosque. This is in Quran Al-Kareem. So what's the number one source in Islam? Quran. After Quran comes what? Hadith, narration. Even the hadith, if it doesn't comply with Quran's verses, we don't believe in the hadith. So in here you see, the people, they start talking, giving ideas, what should we do, what should we do? They came to this idea, build a masjid. A masjid where? On top of the graves. A masjid in the graves. Sahih or no sahih? So that's what they agreed upon, and they built a masjid. This is in Quran al-Kareem. So if you say that it's shirk, why would that be in Quran al-Kareem? That's one. The other one, the verse that I recited in the beginning of the majlis, وَمَنْ أَظْلَمُ مِمَّنْ مَنَعَ مَسَاجِدَ اللَّهِ أَنْ يُذْكَرَ فِيهَا اسْمُهُ وَسَعَى فِي خَرَابِهَا وَسَعَى فِي خَرَابِهَا. That they don't allow people doing their prayers and worship and their supplication in Masajid Allah, that's one, and they destroy Masajid Allah. أولئك ما كان لهم أن يدخلوها إلا خائفين لهم في الدنيا خزي ولهم في الآخرة عذاب عظيم. Who? Of course these people. That you can't destroy such places. So that was the other point. There is a hadith, they come up, the Wahhabis, bear in mind this hadith, I wouldn't mention it because of what the hadith is, but I mention it because the person involved in the hadith, and that is Amir al-Mu'mineen Ali ibn Abi Talib. They say, yes, you Imam, Amir al-Mu'mineen, the one that you respect, he said that I heard from the Prophet that he said to me, because they conquered a land, they conquered a city, in that city there was a cemetery for the Jews, for the Yahud. They come with this hadith and they say, your Imam, Amir al-Mu'mineen Ali ibn Abi Talib, of course Amir al-Mu'mineen is from me, he said that Rasulullah said to me that destroy this cemetery of the Jews. And not just the destroy the cemetery, sawaytah, that means destroy it, level it to the ground, that's one. The other one, and destroy the suwar, the pictures of them. There were no pictures at that time. If you look at it, then there's no picture as in the literal meaning of picture. If you look at this hadith, and they come up with this hadith, they say, you know what? You say, why did we destroyed it? Then here, your Imam destroyed this. First in first, you cannot compare a cemetery of the Jews with a cemetery of the Muslims. That's one. Can you compare the two? Two. The other reason, the Jews, they worshipped the grave, not Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And when he says that surah, picture, they were talking about what idols were made by the Jews. The Amir al-Mu'mineen alayhi afdalu salatu wassalam destroyed, if this is true, okay? So of course this is not true to this point, and we should understand that every grave is respected in Islam, let alone if there's a grave of the Imams. 4 of the Imams, respected Imams in Islam. And of course the discussion continues in that why would they do this? Of course, this was one of the reasons of them because it's bid'ah, heresy. And if it's heresy, this question is raised, and we say, if it's heresy, it's haram, why didn't you destroy the shrine of the Prophet? Even if the Muslim Ummah talks about this, let them talk. Go destroy it. Go and destroy it. But they stopped there. Even today if you go, for example, if you go to Abu Dhabi, have you been to Abu Dhabi? There is a big mosque in Abu Dhabi. It's called Masjid Sheikh Zayed. In this masjid, Sheikh Zayed Al Nahyan, the founder of UAE, that is United Arab of Emirates, he's buried there, and they made this huge mosque there. So if it's bid'ah, then does it apply here or not? Because if it applies, it should apply everywhere. That's one. The other one, if you see Baqee today, unmarked graves. You know what unmarked grave means? That you know the four of the Imams are buried here, you know that Abbas ibn Abdul Muttalib is buried there, you know that Fatima bint Asad is buried there, but the rest of them, the companions and the others, you have no idea. You wouldn't even come close to knowing where they are buried. Unmarked graves. Unmarked graves. In United States, and I don't know if they do the same thing here, when they execute a criminal, they bury them in unmarked graves. Like for example, the serial killer Jeffrey Dahmer, when they executed, actually he died, he was killed by one of the inmates, they buried him in unmarked graves. So the criminals are buried in unmarked graves for people not to visit them. You destroy such places of the Imams, of the wives of the Prophet, and of course the companions of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. You level it to the ground, and 100 years has passed. 100 years has passed since then. And if you look today, you look at it, you say, Subhanallah, this is one of the tragedies of Islam. And not that many people talk about this. Why? Many reasons. Many reasons. One of them is our shortcoming, that we don't talk about this. Many people that have no idea about this. The other one is that we don't understand that we are responsible for that. We are all responsible for it. If I'm responsible, then what should I do? Today you can stop this happening again, or even help out rebuilding Jannatul Baqee with some tweets, with some short lectures, with some pictures here and there. Because House of Saud, even though they're so powerful, the thing they really fear is media. That's why you see that Saudi Arabia has percentage in every single media platform out there, even social media. Walid ibn Talal, he has percentage in Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, CNN, every one of them. That's why they were against Qatar. If you remember a couple of years ago, they boycotted Qatar. Why? Because they had no percentage in Al Jazeera news. And Al Jazeera was making news up and right and left corner, and they were doing their own news. So if I can't control them, I boycott them. So they control in your hand this arsenal in your disposal that you send out. There was a bird that came out in the time of Ibrahim Khalilullah. Namrud, he asked every single city under his kingdom wood fire. They asked him, one of his advisors asked him, Namrud, we don't need that much wood fire. It's one person, we can gather our own wood fire and burn him. Khalas, he's done. He said, no, there is a reason. I'm asking every single city that I'm ruling for them to bring wood fire. For tomorrow that I burn Ibrahim, none of them comes and says, why? Well, you were also involved. You brought wood fire. One of the cities that they refused was Isfahan in Iran. They refused to bring it. Now, he brought out all of this wood fire. They lit it on fire. There was a bird. This is a hadith that says this bird took in some water into its beak and came close to the fire and dropped this couple of drops of water on the fire. To do what? To turn off the fire. Couple of drops, less than this. Couple of drops of water on the fire. Others, they ask the bird from the animal kingdom, what are you doing? This huge fire, some drops of water, you want to turn it off? He said, look, this is my responsibility and I'm doing my part. You do your part. If every one of you does their part, you can turn it off. But of course, some people, they understand this in the community of their responsibility. Others, they don't. Others, they don't. As a person living in the community, you should understand you are responsible for the community, for yourself, for your family, and for the community. وَقِفُوهُمْ إِنَّهُمْ مَسْئُولُونَ. Stop them, they are responsible. You're responsible, I'm responsible, he's responsible, he's responsible, he's responsible. Not just for my family, even for the community. Now you turn on the lights and you say, we have a program in the mosque. Others, they don't come, that's their fault. You have a program, come. Others, they don't want to attend, that's their fault. They don't understand the responsibility they have. Others, they don't want to participate, they don't want to put their hand in and help out for this movement to go on. That's their fault, because of course we have people in the community that say it's your responsibility, and they like to point fingers, don't they? We like, as human beings, we like to point fingers. We say it's your responsibility. Then no one does this. No one says I'm responsible. That's why you see the community today is going backward. The community today, it's going backward. Some people, you have different types of people. One is prepared to give out everything for the community, invest everything for the community, sacrifice everything for the community. Others, they say, no, I'm not going to do that. Let them deal with it by themselves. And that brings us to this, that Baqee al-Gharqad, a lot of people, they don't understand that you're responsible also for 4 of your imams that are buried there. The mother of your imam is buried there. The companions are buried there. Yet no one talks about this because of the fear, or because they say, what I'm going to do? I'm not going to do anything with this. Even if I tweet here or there, or send a picture here or there, or post a picture on social media. No, it does. It does. If the number goes up in thousands, if the number goes up in thousands, they can't stop this movement going on for them to rebuild Jannatul Baqee. Of course, this is a very important issue. Looking at it, and 100 years has passed. 100 years. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, whenever he used to go to Jannatul Baqee, and we have many traditions, says that Rasulullah used to do his lectures in Jannatul Baqee. His lectures were held in Jannatul Baqee. Assalamu ala ahli la ilaha illallah min ahli la ilaha illallah ya ahli la ilaha illallah kayfa wajadtum qawla la ilaha illallah. And we have in Quran al-Kareem, Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, Alhaakum al-Takathur hatta zurtum al-Maqabir. You go visit the Maqabir, the cemeteries, the grave sites. And of course, this is Jannatul Baqee, where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gives us the opportunity to visit such place and help out with building such a place. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم اللهم كل وليك الحجة ابن الحسن صلواتك عليه وعلى آبائه في هذه الساعة وفي كل ساعة وليا وحافظا وقائدا وناصرا ودليلا وعينا حتى تسكنه أرضك طوعا وتمتعه فيها طويلا يا رب الحسين بحق الحسين اشفي صدر الحسين بظهور الحجة. Inshallah, we continue every Monday. As I mentioned to some of the brothers, other days the mosque has programs. Tuesday we have Dua Tawassul. Wednesday, most Wednesdays I'm not here, I'm in other centers. Thursdays we have Dua Kumail here. Fridays we do have another lectures by the boys that do Ark of Salvation. They have the lecture as well, and it's good if you can make it as well for them. Friday, that's where they have the program. Saturday, many of the centers, 99% of the centers, they have programs on Saturday night. So for us to make another program on Saturday night, it's going to take away some people not going to other centers. So tonight, it's a good night. On Mondays that we can, inshallah. So inshallah, you can spread out the news for others to attend. Inshallah, it's going to be weekly, not fortnightly. It's going to be inshallah every week. And from next week onward, we're going to start with Q&A and some discussions group. So we're going to have a very shorter lecture, and some Q&A and some discussion group inshallah, and some light refreshments inshallah. So today is our first lecture, alhamdulillah rabbil alameen, and it's good that we started with this occasion, and inshallah we continue inshallah. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gives us the tawfiq. هذا والحمد لله رب العالمين وأفضل الصلاة والسلام على محمد وآله الطيبين الطاهرين. اللهم صل على الله يسلمك.